Hey everyone, so the day has finally come. I am back on the road. I'm heading down to Key West and going to just stop along the way and camp. Got Bengal in tow and we're ready to go. So the first stop is going to be the Natural Bridge in Virginia, and then we're sort of winging it on our way down to Florida. So thanks for joining me for the ride, and I can't wait for this trip. So I'm about an hour and a half away from the Natural Bridge, but I've run into some traffic and had to refuel my car. So as I want this trip to be a little less Amazing Race and a little bit more Oregon Trail compared to my first one, I'm gonna reroute and find a campsite nearby. It's around 2:15, so it'll get me to the site to be able to relax and set up, and Bengal can eat, and so we're not rushing to the Natural Bridge. It'll be there tomorrow, right? So I think I found a site, but I'm gonna pause to allow Bengal to eat, which she hasn't done yet, so this is a big moment for her to settle in. A lot of campsites were booked or required a minimum 2 or 3 nights. And I guess that's because it says, they say event weekend. I don't know if that's because of July 4th or it's just the weekend, but took a few calls. I'm gonna go to Swift Run, which is a little bit sort of out of the way. I'm kind of taking a perpendicular turn here to the main highway, but it's only a half hour away. And I called them, they were super sweet and said I could have it for a night. So we're gonna check it out. It's probably my only option, so I'm kind of just gonna go with whatever happens here, but something to consider in terms of planning these trips. I'm not, I don't want to be planning the road trip, so I have to deal with whatever is available and open. As soon as Bengal is done, we will be heading there. Okay. So I'm all set up. We got site 20F, and we're the only ones here in this whole tent site area. It's funny because you can't judge a book by its cover, because I'll be totally honest, when I drove in, I was a little bit concerned I was in the wrong place because there wasn't tents and it was just not really what I'd pictured the first campsite to be. However, I am the only tent, but it's great. I'm cooking my dinner right now, which is chicken and stuff that I've prepared beforehand. So this seems to be going well. Bengal just ate in the car. After I eat, I'm going to be refilling the bags with ice so that the food will stay. I'm basically going to have to, before I stop, get a bag of ice, which I did, to replenish what is melted, because it keeps it cool, but it doesn't keep the ice completely solid the whole time. So I'm gonna have to do that. That's fine. It gives me something to do. So yeah, I'm ready to eat. For my first meal camping, I'm pretty happy about that. Something keeps dinging, so hopefully that's safe, but I think it's a good sign that dinner's ready and I'm gonna eat. So that went well, that was delicious, and I'm really happy about that. As you can see, I have the ice bags that are in different levels of melted. Some have a little bit of ice left in them, but I just realized as I was finishing up that they're the perfect opportunity to use them to clean my dishes and then fill the bags to put back in the cooler, as I mentioned, to keep the food cold. So I'm sure people watching out there have a much better way of doing this, probably have much better coolers and a much bigger or better system. So definitely, leave that in the comments. I'm open to learning. This is my first time cooking outside in the campsite, so any advice is well taken. So we made it through the night. It was quite pleasant. As you can see, I'm getting my breakfast ready, which is in line with what I've been doing with my nutrition lately. So I want to keep that going even on this trip. That was one of the main things to kind of get down this time, because last time I didn't even come with a grill or anything. I was just kind of getting food, going to the campsite, or waking up and going to get food. So I wanted to kind of incorporate food as a big portion of this trip. So that's going really well so far. The other thing was to maximize my car battery and to minimize having to charge. And so we did run into a little bit of a puzzle to solve last night. Let me show you that. So I have my own little Price is Right lady to show this off. Up, she's running. Okay, so what I ended up doing this time around was hooking my Jackery up to the 12 volt in the back. And as you can tell, well, you can't tell, but I can tell because I woke up this morning and it was at 20%. And so it is charging the battery, although the input is at 28 watts now. It was at 30 something watts earlier. The problem is that in the middle of the night, I was using this all afternoon and in the beginning of the night, and it was staying at 100%. And the fan was on, right? So the point here being that I have hooked up to the AC plug my fan, which will go on if I put this on. Right. Show it off for us, Vanna. So the goal was for that to kind of run sort of seamlessly through the night. It wasn't the car battery issue though, because, well, what happened was I woke up and the fan was off and the Jackery was at, I think it was like 2%, not giving any output. Everything was plugged in. I also did have the door open while it was running seamlessly before, so I'm troubleshooting this issue. What happened was that I ended up going out of the car, checking the car battery, which was still at 87%, and I started at 92%. So all these numbers, right? Meaning that the car battery is living up to its name, right? The Jeep 4xE's PHEV battery is living up to its power, right? It was able to do whatever it was doing perfectly fine. The Jackery gave out, and I think the trick here is that I need just an adapter, a 12 volt to AC or whatever, USB, maybe there's a amalgamation one, adapter that can harness the car battery without having to go through this secondary source, because for some reason the Jackery is pulling and giving out different wattages at different times based on different circumstances, right? So when I unplugged the door, when I opened the door and kept it lodged, it seemed to hold a battery, hold a charge longer, but it was still only inputting a 36 watt and it was outputting for the fan a 50 watt. So it was a net loss and I was losing Jackery power. So once the Jackery gives out, because this is plugged into that, I can't use it. So I need the adapter. I think that's the key here. So we're going to test that out next time, but learning on the fly here, again, I'm certain that a lot of you already know a lot of this stuff, and please put it in the comments. That's the point of this, is to kind of give information out and to show me falling on my face doing it. But I'm making strides and I feel like I'm having a lot of successes. This is something to test in the next campsite. I know, close-ups of food, how cliche, how boring, but this is a success, so I'm really ready to enjoy this.